Hi, this is Chip Hardwick. I am the interim executive of the Synod of the Covenant, and I am so glad that you're thinking about applying for a Matthew 25 grant from the Synod of the Covenant. I'm recording this video on behalf of the grants team, which along with me is so happy that you are applying and really want you to succeed with your application. And so please take a chance to watch this video in hopes that it will help your grant application be received more favorably by the committee. I'm going to share my screen. I have a PowerPoint. If you know me, you know that I cannot resist a PowerPoint. So I am going to share my screen now and walk you through some of the things we would like for you to know about these grants. You may, before you move farther along in this video, you may want to print an application out. It looks like this. It's 4 pages. I'm going to be referring to it along the way in this video, so you might find it helpful to have it. You can find a link from there, the synodofthecovenant.org, synod-ministries/grants and scholarships. So if you go there, you'll be able to print off an application and you can look at it with me as I go through it. One of the first things it says is that Matthew 25 grants are available to PCUSA congregations and institutions within the Synod of the Covenant. So we just want to make sure that you realize that you need to be in the Synod of the Covenant to apply for this grant, and you need to be a Presbyterian institution or a Presbyterian congregation. But it's important to note that congregations who share ministries with non-PCUSA institutions and organizations within the bounds of the Synod of the Covenant can also apply in order to fund the part of the ministry that is contributed by the church. So if you partner with a non-Presbyterian food pantry, say, you could apply for a grant that helps not the food pantry directly, but how you participate with that food pantry. And also you should know that it's the congregation that needs to apply for the Matthew 25 grant in this case, rather than the non-Presbyterian institution or organization. So if you are a college or a Presbyterian camp or something like that that is tied to the PCUSA, go ahead and apply yourselves. If you are watching this and you're not a Presbyterian Church USA institution, you'll need to talk to a church that works with you for them to apply for the application for the grant. This is a Matthew 25 grant. There are 3 arms of Matthew 25, the Matthew 25 movement. Those are working towards congregational vitality, working against structural racism, and working against systemic poverty. You can learn more about those on the Presbyterian Mission Agency's website. Again, it's www.presbyterianmission.org/ministries/Matthew-25/ or you could do what I did. I just Googled Matthew 25 PCUSA, and it was the very first thing that came up. It's important to note that your church or your institution does not need to be an official part of the Matthew 25 movement. You just need to show us that you are working towards one of those 3 goals. There's a line on the application where you can identify which one you're working towards, and please be sure to identify one of these 3 goals. Thank you. When we've looked at grant applications in the past, some of the problems that we have seen is that people applying, churches and other institutions applying, have not really answered the question. So as you're going through the questions, just be as careful as you can to answer the question that we ask. You might want to think about it if you happen to have taken ordination exams or other exams where going off track leads to a bad result. This is one of those processes, so stay as close as you can to the question that is asked of you. There are attachments to the application that's on page 3 of the application. You'll just want to go through those one by one by one and answer each one of those questions very carefully. You'll also notice as you look at the application that we are requesting that either your executive or general presbyter, your associate presbyter, or your stated clerk fill out a letter of reference for you that would describe to us whether the extent to which they are affirming your application. Now, we've had problems in the past where people have filled out their applications at the very last minute and then expected the presbytery leader to be able to turn that around within 24 hours. We're giving the leader a little bit more time. This time they have a week after your application is due. Your application is due on September 30th. They don't need to have theirs in until October 7th. They will be able to give it directly to us, and we'll be in touch with them about that. But really, best practice is for you to talk to them along the way. When you're thinking about applying for the grant, be in touch with them, talk to them so it's not a surprise to them. They can give you feedback about what might be helpful for the application. We want you to be in close contact with the presbytery. The Synod wants to encourage contacts between our Presbyterian churches and institutions and the presbytery itself. And so this allows you to do that. On question number 3 on page, if you look again on page 3, question 3 says a detailed description of the plans for evaluation, including benchmarks for success. We want to encourage you to be as specific as you can. How will you know if your application is successful and you receive the money and you put the ministry in place? How will you know if it bears the kind of fruit that you want it to bear? You will be submitting 6-month and 1-year evaluations on your progress. And so it's important to have those benchmarks specifically called out in your application. So then you'll know as you go along throughout the year and you give us feedback about how it's going, we'll know, and you'll know if you're meeting the benchmarks that you had set out for yourself. And on the budget, there's a budget question as well. It's on page 4. And this is number 7 on page 4. And it says, a proposed program budget, including personnel costs, operating costs and timing, other sources of income, the amount of the grant requested, and the budget total. Where we say other sources of income, specifically what you can add is what the congregation or the institution is contributing to this project. We want to know if this is a project that the congregation is already, or the institution is already working towards and needs some more money to make it happen, or if this is a project that is just starting from scratch without any buy-in from the congregation as a whole yet, or from the institution as a whole yet. So please be sure when you're answering number 7 to think about what your institution or your congregation is contributing. The chairs of the committee, the grants committee, Reverend Amy Diker, you can see her email, and Reverend Betty Angelini. They want to be as helpful as they possibly can to you. Their information, their contact information is on the 2nd page of the application. So be sure to contact them with any questions at all. They would be happy to hear from you. And this, of course, should go without saying, but maybe it doesn't, that we're going to be praying for your grant applications and your success. And we encourage you to be in prayer about it too. We want to lift this whole process up to God and trust God for the right decisions, that the money that we can distribute, the $50,000 that we can distribute among the applicants, that $50,000 would bear fruit, that it would be like mustard seeds that would create a bush that is much, much bigger than where it started. And so we want to be praying for that, and we want to encourage you to be praying for that also. That's all the information that I wanted to share with you, but I want to tell you again that we are really hopeful that your grant application is successful, and we look forward to receiving it. The application deadline, again, is September 30th of 2022. We won't be accepting any late applications, so please be sure to get your application in by September 30th, 2022. Thank you very much for your application. We at the Synod are so grateful we can support you in this way, and we pray for your ministries. God bless you.